Hello, good morning and welcome to an exciting day to talk business. It's Business 360. My name is Blyden Lukem. In today's edition of Business 360, we'll look at the ideals in this business world, beginning with the stock 218 million naira for breaching 9 rules. Also, Ajay Banga becomes the first ever Indian American to head the World Bank, and we begin from there. Former MasterCard boss Ajay Banga has been elected to lead for the post. He is the first ever Indian American to head the bank. He will replace David Malpass, who had sparked outcry by appearing to question the role of humans in climate change. He begins his 5-year term on 2nd June. Now a US citizen, Mr. Banga started where he stayed for more than a decade. 2 months ago, the White House Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre announced the nomination of Ajay Banga to be president of the World Bank. Let's hear from Karen Jean-Pierre.
President Biden announced that the United States is nominating Ajay Banga to be president of the World Bank, that has spent more than 3 decades building and managing successful global companies that have created jobs and brought.
We can only say congratulations to Ajay Banga and hope the World Financial reports. Oil and gas giant Shell has reported a stronger than expected profit of $9.6 billion for the first 3 months of the year. The figure was higher than the same period last year, despite a slide in energy prices. Fossil fuel firms have been reaping record profits due to a surge in oil and gas prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year. To shareholders by buying back some of its shares over the next 3 months. In Africa, the Central Bank of Angola, Banco Nacional de Angola, has approved Access Bank's plan to acquire the majority equity stake in CBN. Access Bank now awaits the approval of the Angolan Competition Authority to seal the deal. According to Access Bank Holding, the parent company of Access Bank, the minority shareholder of Finibanco Angola SA, have agreed to sell their shares, which are 80% of the Angolan Commercial Bank. Access Holding revealed. On Saturday, April 29th, Indofoods, makers of Indomie instant noodles, issued a rejoinder in reaction to the recall of its products in Taiwan and Malaysia over an increased cancer risks. Health officials in Malaysia and Taiwan said they had detected ethylene oxide, a compound in Indomie's special chicken flavor noodles. The news came with riveting interest for Nigerians, many of whom wondered why the local regulatory agency was unable to detect this looming danger. According to the Malaysian Health Ministry, 36 samples of instant noodles from different brands had been examined since 2022. It was discovered that 11 samples of other brands were implicated. Quite concerning from Indomie's point of view. Still in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari launched the Nigeria Agenda 2050 per annum to place her among the top middle-income economies globally by 2050. Buhari said the plan would also increase real GDP growth by 7%, create 165 million new jobs, and reduce the number of Nigerians living in poverty to 2. Executive Council meeting held at the council chambers of the Presidential Villa Abuja. Now to Sterling Bank. Sterling Bank was fined 218 million naira for breaching 9 regulations of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN, according to the company's annual financial statement for the period of 2022. CBN fined Stabilization Facility. The financial regulator also charged Sterling Bank 56 million naira from the late rendition of regulatory returns and 52 million naira fine for the risk-based supervisory report 2019-20 for the closure of 2 branches in 2020 without CBN's prior approval. In addition, Sterling Bank received the penalty of 4 million naira for risk assets examination failure in 2020. In June 2020, on the resolution, it would be a good time to move to global economy to look at the details and data expected to be released all across the world, beginning with economic calendar for today. Let's look at the calendar this morning. The economic calendar this morning has shown some negativity and positivity depending on which stand and which outpoint we're searching at. Regarding Singapore S&P Global PMI for April, it came out at 55.3, indicating the manufactured traders at 2:30 a.m. came out at 15.269 billion Australian dollar, the Aussie dollar, previous standing revising from 14.151 billion, faces a little slide to 49.5 points level from 50 previously, and the balance of trade in euro from 16.1 billion euro previously. Let's look at the afternoon period and what would happen within the afternoon period, the expected data. The EA Bank decision is expected to be out. Previous standing was at 3.5 for borrowing cost, and the forecast is that borrowing costs would move higher, probably 25 basis points, and also the balance of trade from the US PM. Talking about the United States of America. The US Central Bank raised interest rates to the highest level in 16 years as it battles, marking the 10th increase and bringing borrowing costs to the highest since September 2007. The central bank also signaled that it may be done with a tightening cycle, but during the press conference, Fed Chair Powell said the inflation outlook doesn't support. The Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell spoke at the FOMC press conference May 3, 2020.
Banking sector. Conditions in that sector have broadly improved since early March, and the U.S. banking system is sound and resilient. We will, as a first step in that process, last week we released Vice Chair for Supervision Barr's review of the Federal Reserve's supervision and regulation of Silicon Valley Bank. The review's findings underscore the need to address our rules and supervisory practices to make for a stronger and more resilient banking system, and I'm confident that we will do so. From the perspective of monetary policy, our focus that high inflation is causing.
While looking at ideals of improving the standard of living for the American people, Jerome Powell has spoken. Let's move to the charts indicating United States Fed fund rates. The chart gives outline on how the Federal Reserve has been raising above a little above 0.0 mark level, getting to 1 percentage point, but couldn't get to 1 percentage point yet. Until July 2022, it went up to 1.5 percentage point and kept moving, as at October, it had gone to 3% mark, gone to 4.5%, and currently slightly above 5%. Looking at 5.5%, indicating that inflation has been higher. On the other hand, borrowing costs ought to be higher. Kenya's annual economic growth slowed to 3.8% in the fourth quarter of 2022, compared with a downwardly revised growth of 4.3% in the previous 3-month period and below forecast of 4.7%. It was the weakest expansion. Meanwhile, other activities recorded increases such as manufacturing, wholesale and retail trade. Looking at the full year, the gross domestic product rose by 4.8% in 2022, following an upwardly revised 7.6% expansion in the previous year. Some of the keys and manufacturing contracted. It would make sense to look at the charts indicating Kenya's GDP annual growth rate. The chart. In Kenya, it has faced some growth level upward in terms of expansion and contraction in slowdown. As of January 2020, GDP went up to 4.6%, but dropped further to a negative 4.1% as of July 2020. January 2021, it was 22. GDP growth was at 8.6% and kept slowing down. and currently at 3.8%, indicating struggles in the economy of the country. To unemployment rate in Morocco. The unemployment rate in Morocco increased to 12.9% in the first quarter of 2023, up from 12.1% in the same period a year earlier, 549 million, while employment fell by 279,000 to 10.418 million, and the labor force declined by 466,000 to 11.697 million. Among sectors, jobs were shared in agriculture, forestry and fisheries at a negative 247,000, services negative 56. The jobless rate was higher in urban areas, 17.1%, than in rural areas, 5.7%. According to report, this disparity may be due to 35.3% from 33.4% a year earlier. Let's look at the charts indicating Morocco's unemployment rate. The chart. Unemployment rate in Morocco has been on the higher pedestal. As of July 2020, it was at 12.7%, dropped a little in January 2021, 11.9%, but went further upward July 20, but currently 12.9%, showing some difficulty in the economy of the country. To the commodity market next, the energy market. Oil exchange dropped after more than 11% after the US Federal Reserve raised interest rates again and said the inflation outlook does not support rate cuts, fueling fears of a global economic slowdown and weaker energy demand. The US oil benchmark tumbled to as low in the morning market, the energy market next. According to the energy market, it indicates some gains this morning after that huge drop from yesterday and the early hours of this morning. A slight gain then of 0.67 point, trying to recover from the fall. Crude oil, the US crude, is 69.279 US dollar per barrel rather. For Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, 73 US dollars per barrel. Natural gas, a little. Look at the metal market also. The ideals of a metal market this morning, looking at the price of gold, silver, copper, steel, and the rest. 2,034 US dollar equaling 1 ounce of gold, dropping by 4.95 point this morning. For silver, 25 US dollar per ounce, dropping slightly this morning. For copper, it's gaining just slightly, but steel price, iron ore, no significant difference in the market. Let's look at the agricultural market this morning. The agricultural market, soybeans, wheat, and the rest. Amid data from the US regarding interest rate, the market has seen some ups and downs. Soybeans, 1,444 US dollar per bushel, dropping by 4 points this morning, a negative 0.28% decline. For wheat, a heavy fall the previous days, 3,425 Malaysian ringgit per ton, is a story around the price of palm oil and the struggles. Let's look at the foreign exchange market, beginning with commentary from Bob Icino regarding the euro futures. Let's hear from
today, getting above 111 again, a two-day streak. I should say the euro's in the midst of a two-day winning streak, continuing its recent uptrend. Now that uptrend is flattened out quite a bit, but it's still an uptrend nonetheless. It was a straight up day today. 110.29.5 was the low. That was down 1/100th of 1% mark since mid-April, but came back down below it to settle up a little bit more than 0.5%. When I talked about the euro being in an uptrend, the euro is now working on its ninth up week in the last 10 weeks. Not straight, but still pretty impressive to be up 9 of the last 10 weeks. EU data was...
Let's go to the market to see what the rally for euro is this morning. The euro against the US dollar in the market. The euro USD this morning, our price level had been 1.10 points level. Well, a slight drop this morning, but it's been an improvement from what we've seen previously the past 2 months, where it's been struggling to get to the 1.10 mark. For the pound against the US dollar, is at 1.25 mark, meaning Australian dollar. Let's see the perspective of the Naira against the majors this morning in the market. The Naira this morning, current price against the US dollar is 459 Naira, equaling 1 US dollar at the international and exchange window. For the euro against the naira is 507 naira, equaling £1. The pound gaining 2.19 points against the naira. Let's go to the black market then to see the outline, how it's reflecting in the black market. Well, the dollar to naira buying rate is 738 naira to $1 and selling rate 735 naira to $1. For the pounds to naira, 902 euro at the buying rate and 794 naira to €1 at the selling rate on the average, showing disparity prices, and the spread becomes the gain of the aboki. Let's get to talk about the cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin is doing quite well, 29,000 US dollar, equaling one Bitcoin, moved up by 523 points, trying to hit the 30,000 mark, as many analysts are predicting. For Ether, 1,900 US dollar, equaling one Ether. 25.51 market is moving quite. Let's quickly go to the Nigerian stock market to see the outline in the stock market. Let's move downward and see what the outline is. Well, after we've realized the pictures of mixed fortune in the US stock market, let's go to the Nigerian stock market and the outline in it. Similarly, the all-share index in the stock market dipped this morning, have been looking at, but the struggles continued in the market. The outline in this market, the stock market, after hitting the all-share, has given a picture of what indices should be like. It's making different outlook and different interesting features amid the struggles in the market. Regarding the market cap, is down, and the equity capitalization, the top gainers then, Adova, 18, a Naira 30 kobo, moved, gaining 9.25 percentage points. Let's look at the bottom losers. The bottom losers, top of the bottom, the top volume has shown different outlook because Transcorp met the most in the market with 277 million in shares. This is where we draw a curtain on today's edition of